Are you considering to take your mother to these unhealthy brunches or perhaps cook her an unhealthy breakfast? We're going to show you how to keep that in a much health-conscious way. We're going to show you today how to make a healthy huevos rancheros frittata. We're also going to take some raspberries, put them on some skewers, drizzle some ruby chocolate. If you've never had ruby chocolate before, it is something you're going to love. Stay tuned for this. We're going to keep the flavor up and calories down.
Better is better. Progress is progress.
Here we are. It's almost Mother's Day.
I know. I'm really excited.
Mom?
You know why?
Your mom?
I'm a mom, but it's also my anniversary.
Really?
And it's my birthday. How about that?
That's a trifecta
I got a
holidays.
trifecta.
Wow.
So I got everything all in one.
Your husband's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah.
So,
we didn't plan that very well, did we? No.
I'd like to know what he's doing. All right. So what we're making today is a little special treat for Mother's Day.
We talked about it. I'm excited.
You know, this is not something we typically would recommend using, and Kara will certainly explain to you why. We don't use much chocolate here. When we do use chocolate, it's usually like a darker, high percentage cocoa, darker chocolate, 70% usually or higher. Today we're going to use something special, unique that most people don't even know about. This was a special ruby chocolate that was developed from a bean. They use like unfermented cocoa beans that Calubwe, or how you want to say the French company, developed to make this very unique tasting, very uniquely colored. They call it ruby chocolate. So this has a kind of slight notes of kind of like berry, but it basically kind of is like a white chocolate that has a kind of notes of kind of slight taste of like strawberry,
like
I would
citrus.
say.
Yeah.
So a very simple way to melt this chocolate is in your microwave. You got your wheel sitting on there, right, Lee? We're gonna pop that in there 20, 30 seconds while Kara goes and tells you why we're not gonna recommend making it and just munching on just ruby chocolate, but we'll use it as a treat.
I just learned about this ruby chocolate. I didn't really know about it prior to us doing this little podcast, but very interesting. The red actually is natural. It's not a dye or anything like that. The cacao bean, the unfermented cacao bean is a red color, and that's how it gets that hue, right? But one of the things that is very interesting is they add an acid to it. And so it's a little bit more acidy, and that's why it's a little bit more citrusy in flavor. So it kind of tastes like a white chocolate with a little bit of a citrus flavor in it. But I will tell you, so, Chef did mention that 70% chocolate or above is where to go. And the higher the cacao content, the less sugar that the chocolate's going to have, and the higher antioxidant value. So, then we could actually say chocolate's good for us, right?
Yeah. But some people don't like that really bitter chocolate.
Right, but it is bitter because there's less chocolate.
Correct.
This particular one has
less sugar. More chocolate, less sugar.
I'm sorry. Yes. So the darker the chocolate, the less sugar. So this one is 34% cacao, which means that there is going to be more sugar involved in the whole process, which is why this is something that we're using for Mother's Day on special occasion. And we use it pretty much as what we would call an accessory, right, Chef?
Yes.
It's a ring, it's a watch, it's a necklace. It's
we're not
the main
enrobing
stage.
the chocolate. We're not enrobing any fruit into this. We're not, putting this into chocolate fountain by any means. Well, but if you see what I'm doing here is I'm melting it in stages. It's almost completely melted, and it's been 20 seconds on and off for 40 seconds total now. So twice we did that. We'll hit that maybe 10 more seconds and it should be fully melted. What you don't want to do is just turn it on and expect it to melt evenly. You have to turn it on and kind of par it in every 20 seconds and stir it up, just not to just crank it up and then it'll be kind of seized up or sometimes even burn. But melting it in the microwave.
Nice and smooth. Yeah, it looks really good.
Easy way to do that is in the microwave. We did a previous video when we did chocolate covered strawberries. We were using double boilers. Kara's like, dude, what this is too much work for me.
So you used my method this time.
I listen to you sometimes, Kara.
Every once in a while. Yeah.
But what we did do with that video is that we drizzled a little white chocolate over the strawberry that was enrobed in dark chocolate. Today, what we're gonna do, a little special thing here, is that we actually have some raspberries, nice big plump raspberries. I went ahead and skewered about 6 or 7, depending on the size of them, and I put them on some parchment paper that I have here.
So this is the main stage, right? The raspberry, not the ruby chocolate.
Ideally, yes. The fruit should be the main thing, right?
And it is, because I got a lot more raspberries here than you're going to put chocolate, I know.
Correct. And we do have a white chocolate here, probably more white chocolate than I really need. Let me take some of these bigger lumps out of here. I went a little overboard with that. But the same thing, this particular brand that we're using here is from Choco Love. I don't believe that they make a white chocolate, but Just get a good quality white chocolate. If whatever you go into to melt, Lindt is a good brand. Ghirardelli is a good brand as well.
Right. And the white chocolate will also have extra sugar as opposed to the
It's essentially like
chocolate.
using the ruby chocolate. There's sugar
Without
and
the citrus.
there's fat. But
Yep.
again, it's a treat. It's something that, we want to say that, we want to find people that can have a good balance and still feel like, hey, I want to have one things like that, but how can I have it a little healthier? How can I take it and not maybe take my mother to a Sunday brunch where they're having a chocolate fountain where she's having, all the bad stuff with marshmallows and all types of, hey, I'll give you some fruit, little chocolate, but it's in a balanced, healthy way. Right?
I'm totally with you, Chef. I think that there's certain times when special occasions occur, and if we could figure out ways to, add a little something to the fruit, I'm totally cool with that. And usually these are something that we do with a lot of people and a lot of sharing. So it's not like you're going to sit here and eat 6 skewers of raspberries with chocolate. You're going to take one, you're going to enjoy it, and it's just going to be part of the experience. And the good news is that your main part of your meal or your snack or your dessert or whatever you want to call it is this guy. And this guy is super high in antioxidant value. I always say here at Pritikin, berries are best. That's kind of like a slogan that I like to use. And why do I like to use it? It's because in terms of sugar content and taste and antioxidant value, your berries will be the highest. So you can get the biggest bang for your buck in terms of, how much fruit you can eat for how little sugar you're going to get, and high antioxidant value for that raspberry. One last thing, I know you want to talk, but I just want to share another little secret about raspberries. If you like jelly, like if you are eating like a plain Greek non-fat yogurt or something like that, and it's really plain and you don't really like it that much, you could take a couple of these raspberries and you just smash them right into the yogurt. And I'm telling you, it's like jelly because they're really kind of mushy type of fruit.
Yeah.
And so you don't need jelly, guys. You could just mash your raspberries right into your yogurt or right into your oatmeal.
Right onto your toast.
Right onto your toast, and it's like jelly, and it's completely fresh and natural and tastes really sweet and delicious. So that's my raspberry story.
I love raspberries.
It's
a great fruit. The seeds can be a little kind of a pain to eat sometimes when you're biting down them.
Yeah, it gets stuck
That's
in
the
my
only
teeth
thing
a little
I would
bit.
say. Yeah, but it's
Carry the floss around.
It's worth it.
It's
So
worth it.
a little squeeze bottle is always going to make this easier to work with, as opposed to trying to put this into like a piping bag, or you can certainly just drizzle it with the
Looks
fork,
like
right?
a paint bottle, like
This-
where you would squirt the paints.
Yeah, this is like a 4-ounce bottle. So there, if you look on webstaurantstore.com, you can get squeeze bottles 2, 4, 6, 8, 20 ounces, everything in between. So this is a 4-ounce squeeze bottle. There, just makes things easier.
Looks so smooth, right?
So we got this white chocolate, trying to get it into that.
I was going to say, what's the trick of not letting it spill over the bottle?
Well,
Oh, I know.
when you call me out on it is when it happens.
You could
Kara.
get a funnel.
Well, then then I have to buy a funnel.
Then you'd have to buy a funnel.
I have a funnel in the back. I just didn't bring it, but it's okay.
I think that takes a lot of practice.
I thought I can get
would be using a funnel.
some
That
good
was
target
me.
practice. What happens is that the white chocolate's a little thicker, so what happens is it clogs up that little hole when it goes to the top,
And then it
doesn't.
gets stuck.
It gets
Yeah.
stuck, and then it doesn't actually go. But that's fine. We have enough that.
Thought you were going to lick the finger, no?
In my house, I probably would.
But not here on TV.
So again, if you want to coat this and just use dark chocolate, just use a 70-80% chocolate. That's great. That's fine
on a
to
regular
do.
day. This is a special day, right?
Correct. Today's a special day.
Absolutely.
But don't be over there.
Not on the
just-
regular, guys.
Just
Not
munching
on
this
the
on a regular.
regular.
So let's go ahead and give us a quick drizzle. We'll pop them into the refrigerator so they can kind of firm up. And then we'll make our other Mother's Day recipe, which is a little huevos rancheros frittata. So let's do that.
The what frittata?
Huevos rancheros. I should get Victoria to come.
Huevos rancheros.
There you go. I'll get Victoria in here to pronounce it real fancy.
Okay. And actually, you know what's so cool? These actually look like little hearts.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
So for Valentine's Day, for Mother's Day, whatever holiday you want to do this for, with a little drizzle over there like that. And just keep going with it, right? Don't stop, because once the chocolate's flowing,
You
Just
got
let
the
it-
rhythm.
just let it keep on
Yeah,
going.
and you're really putting very minimal on there.
Yeah. And I'm being a little generous with the paper too, because I like to pick the whole thing up and get that little flood of the chocolate and eat that little extra.
The stuff that sticks to the paper.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So if you want to do this with other berries, like Kara said, do a little variety, little kebab thing. It doesn't have to be raspberries. It could be all berries. It could be gooseberries. It could be kiwi berries, which are hard to find, but they're definitely out there. So if you're looking for a little more unique things to kind of wow your friends, try looking for those more exotic things. And don't just do standard. Actually have pine berries in the back. We just got them. They look like white strawberries.
I was just going to ask you the ones that look like the white strawberries. Those would be cool to do with that, with the whole pink theme.
Exactly.
And that pineapple you had the other day, the pink pineapple.
We messed this one up. I shouldn't have moved it. I tried bringing it closer to the camera. Then we smashed it all up here, baby.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So I think Kara and I did a pretty good job coordinating this ruby chocolate today as well. I don't have any pink chef jackets, but I did have a pink shirt. So we'll just keep going with this. And I did actually try drizzling a little dark chocolate on these as well, just to see in the back when we made these for the first time yesterday, just to see kind of how it looked. I didn't like it, in
Looks
addition
better
to
with
this,
the pink and the white.
just the pink and the white and the red. It's a cool contrast, and they really, really taste great. To be quite honest with you, when I had the ruby chocolate by itself, I didn't really like it that much. It was like okay, but it wasn't like. But I'm not a big white chocolate guy, so. Maybe it was that, but either way, when I had it combined with the white chocolate and the raspberry, it was like definitely a whole other story, and it really just added a whole other complexity to it. So
it's funny that you say that, Chef, because I find with dark chocolate, if I just eat a piece of dark chocolate, I don't really like it so much. But when I melt it and put it on the berry, it's a whole different ball game.
It's quite nice for sure.
Yeah.
So let's pop these into the fridge. This will take probably a good 10 minutes or so just to firm up. And we'll revisit that. So let's do the frittata.
Here at the Pritikin Center, it's like rainbows and unicorns. All you gotta do is show up and everything is planned and prepared for you. But when you get home, get ready for those lions and tigers and bears. Whether you're racing out the door to work and skipping breakfast, or glued to the Zoom call and no time for lunch, or maybe you're in retirement and every day is a holiday. The solution? You need a plan. My name is Kara. I've been a registered dietitian for over 20 years, and I've helped thousands of clients create sustainable plans that stick. At the Pritikin Center, we offer a one-to-one remote nutrition coaching program with me. Together, we will create a customized plan that addresses your lifestyle, your health markers, and any of those derailers that lead you astray. Support and accountability can be the difference between finding success and constantly chasing after it. Sign up today for more information about Pritikin at Home Concierge Nutrition Program. Are we good for next week? Are you good same time, 2 o'clock next Wednesday?
Now, Victoria, we made one of these earlier. She went ahead and played this up real nice and fancy. We made a little avocado cream, and she garnished it with a little bit of cojita cheese, which is definitely, all cheese is high in sodium. So if you're going to find cheese, try to go for the low-fat one, unless it's something they don't make low-fat.
Yeah, and the other good little rule of thumb with the cheese is try to get a cheese that you can crumble and space out, because like Parmesan or feta, they're all going to be, like you said, salty and fatty.
And get a thimble too, so you can portion it out.
You could really spread it so it covers a big area for a small amount. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and make that. Victoria made it look very fancy. We went ahead and put little flowers on there and stuff, little dainty stuff. But whatever you want to make it look like, these are edible flowers, so you can find them. It always makes it look even fancier. And what we did was also took little, these tortillas. We won't demonstrate this today, but I'll quickly talk about this. These are just whole wheat tortillas. What we did is we just took a little cookie cutter. You pass it over to me.
The cookie? Oh, this little guy? Oh, I have one of those at home.
It's a little heart cookie cutter.
See, you don't have to use those for cookies, right? You could actually use them for
tortillas.
Frittatas. Yeah. How about that?
I'll tell you what, I bought a whole little alphabet set for my kids when they were just learning the alphabet, and I made little of these tortillas. That's how they eat letters and letters. It took a lot to press it through, but it was worth it.
What a cute dad you are.
So this is what you're going to get at the end: is these little heart-shaped chips. What we did was just sprayed a sheet tray. Just spray a little sheet tray like this. Put some of the tortillas down. I dusted a little bit of our Southwest chili seasoning on there and pop them in the oven for about, I'd say 5 minutes or so, maybe 6 or 7 at the most, just so they're crispy. And that's how you give a little crunch to that, as opposed to...
Just a fun little addition. I love it.
Yeah, so let's make that, right? So let's
do it.
Okay, so let's get the chocolate.
There.
Let's get the chocolate out of the way here. I could probably take that in the back and they probably would lick the bowl. Who doesn't like chocolate? But again, in moderation. All right, so let's make these eggs. So the first thing I have here to show you is I have some roasted poblanos. So to get them to look like this, all we're going to do is take some fresh poblanos and we're going to pop them into the oven under the broiler. So to show you this, I'm going to take some cooking spray. What I'm going to do is just lightly spray this pan. And take some fresh poblanos. These could be red bell pepper, these could be yellow or orange peppers, and whatever you want to do. And we're going to pop them under the broiler. So this is going to really kind of start kind of blistering the skin of the pepper, which is what we want to do.
It looks like it got hurt.
Yeah, so what's had to happen is that skin comes right off.
It's really soft. Yeah.
And what I want is to peel that skin off and have that nice roasted pepper right underneath. We'll chop that up and we'll add that into our mixture once we have that ready to go. So,
what's really cool about peppers? They have this thing called capsaicin, which is a compound that is an antioxidant. So your peppers are like your anti-cancer foods.
Okay.
And one great thing about peppers is that they're also very spicy. I mean, the poblano is not really spicy, but some of your spicier peppers, they actually, so to speak, act as a weight loss aid because the spice really helps.
Makes your mouth so hot you can't eat anything.
It helps it burn the calories. Yeah. So not only do peppers have that capsaicin, which is great antioxidant activity, if the spice is really spicy, it also is supposedly helpful with the whole weight loss and fat burn situation. So takes away from using salt, right?
Definitely adds a lot of flavor,
Adds a lot of flavor, so you don't need the salt. But as you're adding the flavor, you're adding some really good, antioxidant, anti-cancer causing properties to that frittata.
Exactly. So first and foremost, what we're going to do for this is saute some veggies. And what we'll do first and foremost is get a lot of these onions to cook down and caramelize. Hot pan, a little bit of cooking spray. It's already starting to get a little lightly brown. We want to trap all that moisture naturally in there. We'll pick one nice plump tomato and we'll dice this up into there as well.
And by the way, anytime you're adding onions and garlics to your saute with your vegetables and things like that, you are also adding something called allicin, which is another antioxidant, and also has these little undigestible fibers that.
Who's Allison?
Allison, she's another antioxidant gal. But anyways, the onions have these prebiotic fibers in them. So every time you guys are eating onions, anything that's undigested in your body is actually feeding your gut and expanding your probiotics in your gut. So onions are awesome tasting for flavor, but they're just know that they're feeding your gut and keeping your gut nice and healthy. So they're really important. And they obviously add some really great flavor like the peppers do.
Woo. I'll make you cry too.
I know.
That steam will get you. It'll really, woo. Okay.
I'm standing back.
Wow. You got me right in the face. Okay. So you saw what I did was I put a little bit of water.
You need a tissue.
I think I need a tissue. I put a little bit of water into the pan just to go ahead and deglaze the pan, right? If it looks like it's getting too dark, the onions, you don't want them to do burn. So add a little dash of water into the pan. The next time what we do that is we're actually going to add tomatoes in the pan to deglaze it. Because you can see it's starting to stick a little bit. That's fine. That's kind of what we want. But we're going to deglaze it in stages. So we did it once. We'll do it one more time. Once we add all these really high moisture content vegetables like the tomato. And this will even kind of deglaze it too because the peppers have a lot of, still some moisture left in them.
Right. And not to mention, by the way, moisture is hydration. So all of your fruits and your vegetables are like 90+% water. So not only are you getting these high antioxidant value vegetables, but you're also hydrating yourself at the same time, which is super important. So way to go with all these veggies, chef. Loving it.
And if you want to throw more veggies, throw some spinach in here. If you want to throw some more
the
herbs
kitchen sink, whatever you got going on in your fridge left over, just throw it in your frittata,
It's really
right?
up to you, for sure. Let's add these tomatoes in here now. You see right away, they kind of pulled all these onions off of the pan.
Because the water, right? The water helped lift them up.
Correct. Let's check those poblanos that were still in the oven.
How long do those cook for, chef?
They don't take very long. I mean, you can already...
Hot?
Well, that's what happens when you have a
You're going to get a blister.
when you have a slightly damp rash that was only doubled up.
You're going to blister your finger like you blistered the poblano.
So you can see it's already starting to kind of blister on top.
Yeah.
You see the skin's already starting to pull away a little bit.
Yeah, but it's not quite ready.
It needs to go a little longer. Yeah. So back in the oven. And the pans are always going to be the most hot when they're under the broiler because the broiler is just producing just constant heat on that pan.
So you got to use a good pan.
Well, use a good pan because so it doesn't warp as well, correct? And
I've had that happen. My pan, I have one pan that like goes like this when it goes over 400.
That's the wonky pan, yeah.
The wonky pan.
And I always tell people, I can't recommend it enough. Just get some good quality stuff from Webstaurant. Get good cutting boards, cookware. You know, there's a manufacturer called Valrath that makes just great quality, products, whether it be cutting boards or cookware, sheet trays, all types of stuff. And they just have a lot of variety of stuff that you can get from Webstaurant for very affordable prices. So I'm taking some of these seeds out, but I'm taking some of them, keeping them in there because again, the seeds have flavor, they have heat. If the pepper itself is hot, I'm taking some of them out, but leaving some of them as well.
Right.
So we'll just dice these
The
up.
little fat burner seeds. That's what we call them.
Yeah, what you don't want to do is just open up a can of green chilies, like fire roasted green chilies, because the sodium content is just going to be just through the roof on those. So
No
keep that in
sodium
mind.
there.
No sodium here. I mean, you saw us how we did it. So what we'll do next is add a little dash of, you see how much moisture is kind of still in that pan? So I'm going to actually turn that pan up on high, let that reduce out a little bit, add a little dash of cumin in just a second. And let's talk about the egg that we're going to use here.
Andrew here told us that Pritikin helped change his life. Andrew, tell us your story.
As a golfer, I'm ridiculously competitive. Apart from golf, I love most sports, particularly skiing. 2015, we were skiing in France, having a great time. Got back to the hotel and started feeling pretty ill. Turned out I was having a heart attack.
What happened? Are you okay?
Within a week, I'd had quintuple heart bypass. They gave me 7% chance of living, and I found Pritikin, and I made it, which was pretty miraculous. Now I feel I'm as healthy as anyone my age, if not healthier.
Talk about a winning mindset.
I thought I'd look up somewhere that had a bit of golf and a bit of sun. Went online, booked myself in. I had a whole series of physical examinations, blood tests, ECG tests, gym tests.
Whoa, Andrew, what about the golf and sun?
That was quite reassuring to see how medical they were and that I was being looked after by real doctors. They have really good counselors here, great dietitians here. The gym staff are wonderful. If they can see you're doing something wrong when you're by yourself, they come over and assist. It's quite a personal service.
We're always here for you, Andrew. Say, how's your golf game?
Strength's probably my short game. Anything within 100 yards, I'm pretty good. I'm a solid, sort of irritating golfer you don't want to play because I don't give too much away, let's put it that way.
Outstanding. What's next for you, Andrew?
Anyone who's gone through a major trauma and is feeling insecure and scared, that's where I was. I'm a different person now. I worry about a lot of things, but I don't worry about living a good, long, healthy life anymore.
Andrew, you're a real inspiration. Thank you for sharing your Pritikin story with us. If you need to take a wellness retreat like Andrew, check out Pritikin.com.
It looks almost like that is a yellow egg, but there is no yolk in there.
No joke, no yolk.
No joke, no yolk. What we're using here is this is a commercial version we get from Cisco because this is a commercial setting, but normally just use egg beaters. This is exactly what the same exact ingredients as what's in egg beaters, just the label would be different.
It's different.
So what's in egg beaters, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's the
99%
question.
egg whites. So
what's that 1%, chef?
it makes it look like eggs. You tell me, Karen.
It's the hack, right? So I get this question all the time because I go to the grocery store every week and we go to look at the eggs. And if you look at the egg white container, it will just say 100% egg whites. That's all that it is. If you look at the egg beater, what you'll see in the ingredients are something called xantham gum or agar gum, which is the other 1%.
Yep.
And that is giving it some stabilization and thickness, which is giving you the egg feel.
Yeah,
It's
it
sort
ma-
of like a thickener.
It makes it look like there's a yolk being cracked into there. And what makes it look yellow is having the beta carotene naturally coming in
Right.
from
Which
carrot.
is, I was going to say, beta carotene is absolutely natural. It's not artificial.
stick a
The
little
beta
bit.
carotene is what gives the carrot, the orange, or the sweet potato, and that is the vitamin A in the vegetable that is what is so healthy about it. So nothing wrong with the beta carotene added into the egg product. The guar gum and the xanthan gum is pretty benign, but I would say if it's something that you use in many different foods during your day, there is some research that suggests that it can mess with the chi of the gut balance. Okay, but if you're just using a little bit here and there to add some thickener to your egg or something like that, totally cool.
And that's already added from the factory. And we also do use xantham gum here sometimes just by itself. But like she said, it's such small little bits we're using. It's such a minute amount. It's more widely used in some recipes in gluten-free baking. That's really use a larger amount of it to kind of hold the bread in a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting, right? Because a lot of people think like gluten-free is such a big deal, but what happens when you go gluten-free is it totally changes the consistency and mouthfeel of the food, which people don't necessarily like. So then they got to go ahead and add something back into it. Yeah. So not always the best idea. You want to deglaze this
before that gets too dark.
A little bit of water.
A little bit of water in there. And all that good flavor comes right off. Basically have all the vegetable component in here now at this point. But like I said, add more things. Add some spinach, add some, whatever it may be, asparagus, zucchini, whatever you want to put in your eggs. It's really up to you. All right, so we'll go ahead and take that off of the fire. Let me turn that off. And I'm going to take these little small oven-safe molds, and we're going to spray these very lightly. I'm just going to clear this cutting board off in a second, actually. Maybe we'll just do this over here.
Is it a quarter of a second of a spray, Chef? I don't know if you ever noticed what the serving size of a spray is.
It's a third of a second. Here's a third
quarter.
of a second.
Oh, it's a third? Most of them are a quarter.
Half a second, quarter a second.
How can you possibly do a quarter of a second of a spray? You can't.
Don't lather it with butter, right? Just don't do that. And when you're using it, just spray it lightly around so the whole thing is coated.
And then do you ever take a paper towel or just kind of rub it to make sure it gets everywhere and then take off some extra?
The benefit of using the spray is that it gets a broad mist, so it tends to kind of put it out pretty nicely in that sense. So these vegetables are done. I'm going to take these off the fire. We'll build them up into there with some of my egg, and we do have a little bit of cheese component going in here, but small little bit.
It's an accessory, right? It's a ring. It's a necklace, like the chocolate.
All right, so let's build these up here real quickly. We'll take some of these vegetables, add that into there. We're going to pour some of that egg right over there. Quick, easy way. Yeah. Shake it up real good. Shake it up real good.
Shake, shake, shake. You also get a little workout, right? Whenever you can get that workout in, squeeze it on in there. And, the good news about egg whites is that they're so low in calorie. There's no saturated fat or cholesterol whatsoever. So actually here at the Pritikin Center, even though eggs are from animal, we kind of classify it as a non-animal because it doesn't have any cholesterol or any saturated fat in it, which leads it to have very low calories. So you don't have to be chintzy with the amount of egg white or egg beater that you're using.
Don't hold back.
I'm not holding back. I hold back a lot, but I'm not holding back.
You could definitely save all this as well in a container, and that way you don't have to go ahead and let you sprinkle the cheese. We have a little bit of cheddar cheese, low fat.
Should I put the glove on?
Oh, I mean, you and I are going to eat it. And
I did wash my hands, but
usually we always
want to be safe.
We always wear gloves for ready to eat food, but it's always better to wear it all across the board as well. Just to finish this off.
So we got a cheddar and we got a cojita. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Parsley, cilantro, take this
And by
together.
the way, just a little side note, I can't tell you about cojita because I don't know off the top of my head, but the low-fat cheddar is one of the lower sodium cheeses. So that's, people ask me, I'm gonna have a little bit of cheese. What should I choose? I tell you, choose ones that you can spread. So these are good because they're very spreadable and you can cover a lot of ground. And the mozzarella and the cheddar tend to be lower in sodium than some of the other cheeses. So those are my recs, guys. So just sprinkle, accessory.
Sprinkle.
And I like to do the white on top.
You're going a little heavy.
No.
I'm only kidding.
I think that's less than a tablespoon for sure.
I'm joking.
But I love how you put, is that cilantro you put on top of that?
Cilantro and parsley.
Cilantro and parsley. Awesome. I think cilantro is such a flavor enhancer.
Peppers are done. They have to cool down before you try to peel them. These eggs will go into the oven. They will only take about maybe 15 minutes. I'm going to turn this to 400 degrees, maybe actually 350. And I do have one here already that's been cooked.
Oh, beautiful.
That's what it's essentially going to look like.
How long did you cook it for, Chef?
It's going to take, again, about 15. Listen, I just said 15 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. What's going on here?
I don't know.
It's about,
I missed that part.
about 15 minutes
I
or
was
so.
so focused on
we
the
typically
cheese.
would do it. So, what you can do is just go ahead and look at this, and we can pop this out. And that's what you're going to get essentially. And you can plate this up in many different ways. I'll show you a quick little easy way we can plate this, make it look nice and pretty. So let's pop this onto a plate. If you want to add a little avocado on here, you could. If you want to make it look a little something extra to it, you could take some of those chips that we made right there, Kara, and just kind of right here, I'm sorry. Put it like, 2 or 3 of them
Little
in
pop
there.
them just for effect.
Stagger them in somewhere,
Okay, I'm only gonna do 2.
Okay.
I'm going but you could definitely have more than one of these frittatas, right? That's what's giving you the volume and the fullness is the frittata. It's the accessory is the avocado and the.
And you can definitely do it, ahead of time if you want to have one already pre-done in the cooler. Some people actually just microwave it to reheat it, or even serve it cold. So, whatever you want to do to kind of pre-plan it out. We'll take one avocado here and keep this a little bit more traditional in that sense, and we'll take a few slices.
They call the avocado like the vegetarian butter.
Who said butter?
So if it doesn't have a mom or a dad, it doesn't have cholesterol, right? So avocado obviously does not have a mom or a dad, so it doesn't have any cholesterol in it. It does have a fair amount of fat, but the type of fat that's in there is what we call a monounsaturated fat. And that's what's actually really good for our heart. The problem with the avocado is very calorie dense. So a little bit of avocado has a lot more calories than, you could have these 2 slices of avocado for the same calories as a whole frittata, right? So that's the rub with the avocado. But in terms of mouthfeel, flavor, and health, good for the heart, avocado is the way to go rather than butter.
Cool. Just don't fill up off the avocado alone, right? Fill up off lots of other low-calorie stuff.
It's an accessory.
Yeah.
Just like the cracker and just like the little sprinkly on there.
Whether it's Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, or any old day, certainly filling up on some nice hearty egg is always a good choice. Flavor this however you want. Kara, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you so much. And I think I know what I'm making for Mother's Day. Thanks so much, Chef. I appreciate it.
Let's show you the raspberries. I think they're all probably should be fully cooled down as well.
Definitely making these.
Look at this.
Beautiful, right? Beautiful.
Nice hard shell of that chocolate. You can plate these up.
And it's so pretty. That's the best part.
One would be a serving, ideally, right?
Ideally.
And take this.
And then to take a little extra that's on the little parchment paper there. And
who doesn't
eat
like that little extra? Exactly. And look, one thing I did actually have an idea was to make a crepe and put this in a crepe and roll it up and pull the skewer out. You have a whole little kind of.
Oh, that's next level, Chef.
Yeah, make your mom put her to work. She doesn't work enough, so make her make the crepes too. I'm kidding. I'm
gonna stick with that, but I think it's a really good idea.
So, folks, have a great day.
Enjoy.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Enjoy. Folks, if you like this video and you want to see another cooking demonstration, click here. If you want to listen to our podcast, click here.